Om. गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. We are in Amrit Anubhav, chapter 4, verse 22, and here it was told, the pure knowledge cannot know itself objectively, therefore this pure knowledge is the knowledge without the difference of knower and known. I think we read this, but anyway, in this way, as shown in the several examples cited above, pure knowledge cannot know itself. Which is this knowledge? It is the knowledge without the knower. To abide in the pure consciousness, this game of duality must end. And this game of duality is the knower known, or the triputi must end, where the knower known knowing, experiencer experienced experiencing, observer observed observing, where objectivity is there. Objectivity is not there for the reality. Then for whom is the objectivity? Meaning, objectivity means seeing something other than yourself. For whom is it? It is for the individual. It is for the knower. So he experiences the known. Seer, so he sees the seen, which is other than it. So in this way, it is the knowledge without the knower. So what do we need to do? Can we stop the known from appearing? Can we stop the known from appearing? I'm asking. Can we stop the known from appearing?
We can.
She says we can, and someone said we can't. So are we in this journey of recognizing that we are the pure consciousness? Do we need to forcefully get rid of everything? No. Understand the appearance and disappearance of objectivity. Where is the appearance of objectivity? Waking and dream is the appearance. Deep sleep is the disappearance, isn't it? All objectivity goes away. So let it go on. Let it go on its journey. Let the mind go through its journey. Let the objects come and go. Like when you are driving the car, you are not, if someone on the other side of the highway, traffic is going by their way, let it go. But if you keep looking at that traffic, then your car will also go in the oncoming traffic. Then accident. And this is what is happening to you and to all the individuals. Continuous accidents. And what is the accident? Continuous accident. Precipitation of individuality is the accident, or the crystallization of the ego is the accident. Why? Because we are giving attention to the where it is not required. We are giving attention to the thoughts, just like you give attention to the other cars and your car starts swaying in that direction. You give attention to the thoughts, the conscious starts swaying towards the flow of thoughts and starts thinking that it is the thought, that it cannot live without the thought, it cannot live without the objective. Then that becomes the norm for it. One accident after accident. What are accidents? Experiences are the accidents. Involvements are the accidents. Identification is the accident. Catch this. Catch this. So we can't stop the traffic from coming or going. So same way, we can't stop the traffic of the thoughts from coming and going. But we can come to a disposition where we are not giving attention to that which is coming and going. That is the way to remain accident free. And when that happens, what is the result? This I, which was propped up because of the experiences, because of the thoughts, because of the objectivity, when it has got nothing to hang on to, when it has got nothing to hang on to, then it falls back into itself. Look at ourselves. We all define ourselves. If someone says, whenever you go to parties or wherever you go to meet new people, how do you introduce yourself? It's only with objectivity. You associate yourself with some object. She is my wife, or I am her husband. I live at this address. I was born in this country and in this state. Object. I went to this school or that university. Object. This is the subject that I studied. Object. This is my profession. Object. So you are always introducing yourself with reference to something. Catch this. It's only you have to catch that you are, as an individual, as a personality, popped up due to references. Are you there if there are no references? Are you still there without any references? Without any references mean you are indifferent to all the references. You have got no value or importance for the references or the objects of the world, places of the world, people of the world. Then that will be the knowledge without the knower. Where there is, because our knowledge means in respect to something, isn't it? And for that, you don't have to give up your husband, you don't have to give up your wife, you don't have to give up anything. You have to just disengage. When I say give up, yes, we have to give up. I mean give up meaning you don't have to divorce. You don't have to commit suicide to be free of the body. Why? Because I am the spirit. No. We disengage. We stop giving it value. We stop living at the dictates of the known. The one who lives at the dictates of the known is the individual The pure consciousness is independent, is self knowing. It doesn't need a thought to know itself. It doesn't need a reference in order to pop itself up. It's self existing. And that's our true identity at this very moment, while we are speaking, while we are listening. When pure consciousness is at the level of sentiency, as in the case of the life processes, there is no sin, no merit. The action being of the body alone, there is no sin attached to it. So, for who is this sin and merit? For the individual. Who is this individual? Who is this ego? He who has given value and importance to the objects. What are objects? What are objects? They are inert. How do you know the objects? Only by way of thought, isn't it? You know all the objects in the world only by way of thought. All the references only by way of thought. Whether it is sun, whether it is moon, whether it is parents, whether it is children, whether it is lighting the lamp, whether it is doing puja or not doing the puja, everything is an object. And everything is a thought. And everything in this, all these thoughts, they are coming and going. What is coming and going is inert. What is coming and going is inert. So how can an inert object have a sense of merit or a sense of sin? How? Thoughts are neither good nor bad. Then from where has this sin and merit come from? It is the product of the unholy association of the I with the object and ownership thereafter. That all these thoughts are me. I am. This imaginary entity, for him is all this sin and merit. So in the world there is no sin and merit. In the pure consciousness there is no sin and merit. It is this one who is owning all, that I am this body, that I am this mind, I am these senses, I am the husband, I am the wife. As much as there is no presence of a husband or wife in a man or a woman, to that extent, if you can see, you are a woman or you are a man, and where is the husband? You can't look for a husband in yourself, or you can't look for a wife in yourself. It's only an imaginary acceptance of a role, and that imaginary acceptance of a role is on account of other, with reference to another person. Where does that imaginary acceptance of the role go away when that person goes away? Where does it go away? That much is the validity of this karta, of this ego, of this doer, or ego which expresses as karta and bhokta. It has got no validity, yet it is appearing. Is the ghost. So if that is the case, then how do we live? Live without any sin and merit. Don't papoham, kayena vacha manasendriyairva buddhyatmana va prakrite svabhava. I'm sorry if I made some mistakes, I'm wrong. No, why don't you take the position? Yesterday someone asked me, Swamiji, I'm looking for a job, and I'm fighting, and I'm taking every challenge, and I'm fighting. We have to fight through life in order to be successful. And you know, I listened yesterday morning. I was having a coffee, as he was saying, he was so passionately saying it. Why you are saying it so passionately? You are afraid not to get the job. That's why you want to push through that inertia of no job by thinking I will get a job. I am fighting. You are trying to inspire yourself forcefully. But one day you will get exhausted. One day, wherever there is exertion, you can keep exerting, keep exerting, keep exerting 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. Then, if you have lived life like that, the I is maintained, continuous exertion, putting efforts, eventually exhaustion will come. Then what is that moment when he was saying this? I said, why don't you think in a different way? He says, what is that way? I said, why don't you think? Why do you think that you have to struggle? Why do you think you have to fight the world? Fight the circumstances. If God created the world, then He knows what is required for everyone. And God is abundance. Because we are allowing the precipitation of the individual, the ego, who wants to fight, who wants to survive. Therefore, more challenges are coming. Keep thinking of the divine, ego will dissolve, abundance will flow. And when I said that, he became very emotional, touched my feet, this, that, because suddenly, in one moment, the vision was transformed for him, for that moment. If he stays with it, fantastic. But for that moment, it would change. Suddenly, welling up of the tears. He is an elderly person, 40, 45 years old, 50 years old. So are we at a drop of a hat able to change our position rather than again and again thinking about ourselves as a person, as an individual, as a personality? Are we able to take the position of the totality or infinity, wherein we are unaffected by whatever is going on? We can be answering. I ask a question, you answer me. I don't even remember who answered the question, and it continues. Do you remember when did you last scratch your, nose, or corrected your hair, or shifted your leg, or changed your position on the chair? You don't. It's going on. Do you know how many breaths you have taken since morning today? No, it's going on. Why? No value. It's going on. You know it is going on. Then why don't you take? Thoughts are going on. Don't get attached to them. Experience is going on. Let it go on. It's only at the equipment. Don't become the experiencer. Listening is going on. Let it go on. Don't become the listener. Speaking is going on. Let it go on. Don't become the speaker. This will not, what I'm just telling you, will not happen when our attention is objective. This happens only when our attention is subjective. When you are attentive of the sleep, whatever the thoughts are going on in your mind, you say, हाँ ठीक है यार, चलने दो, आई एम रेडी टू डाइव इन टू स्लीप नाउ, आई वॉन्ट टू बिकम वन विथ स्लीप, I want to be swallowed by sleep. I want to merge into sleep. And in that, attention on the sleep makes you, that attention is the kavach because of, through which the objectivity is not able to pierce and disturb your mind. Where is your attention at this moment? Is it on the words? Then if I abuse you, someone, in some way, it will affect you. Oh, what is this? What happened suddenly? Oh my God. In a lecture he is abusing. That to me by taking my name in front of everyone. I'll teach him a lesson. See? Why? You allowed the objectivity, what was the objectivity? Someone else's words to come and create a ripple in your mind. They can only create the ripple in the mind if you are available to it. If you are not available to those words, they will come. Just like you throw a stone in deep waters, the moment sometimes the stone is not even able to create a ripple. It just it goes in, hardly the ripple will come, hardly, and then immediately again the water will become calm. But in shallow waters, you put one small stone, the ripple keeps going till the end of the lake. So how much are we with ourselves will determine our depth and our shallowness. And in that shallowness, if a stone by way of word comes, it will create a long big ripple. If we are deeply involved with ourselves, contemplating on ourselves, then even if a big, there is a fire going on. Like Lehdi Mahashay. Lehdi Mahashay, you have heard of Lehdi Mahashay? Lehdi Mahashay was Maharishi, not Maharishi, Mahavatar Baba's disciple. Lehdi Mahashay's disciple was Yukteswar Giri, and Yukteswar Giri was Guru of Paramahamsa Yogananda. Now you know the sequence. That Lehdi Mahashay was having a satsang, and someone told him, "Arey, your wife or your son, someone has died in the back room." He says, okay. He finished his satsang, continued the satsang, and then he went. For a common man, oh, what a heartless fellow. He doesn't have any sense of responsibility there. His relative has died and he is still trying to show off by giving lectures and this and that. Can you revive a dead person? No. What is more important? Satsang or a dead person? Can you do anything about the dead person? No. He has to be cremated. But satsang is, maybe someone will get benefited. No disturbance. Satsang is always important. Can we bring ourselves to that disposition, where we are not affected by anything? Yet we continue in and through everything, but remaining undisturbed. This is what our Bhagavad Gita talks about. Samatvam, samatvam, samatvam. So many. Samay krutva labha labho jaya jayo. Samatvam yoga uchyate. Remain equanimous. Meaning, Mind will go through ups and downs. That is its nature. Thoughts will go up and down, good thoughts, bad thoughts. You remain independent. Then the knower, the observer, ego is expressing as the knower, the experiencer, the observer, the seer, the hearer, the taster, the thinker, the conceptualizer, the imaginer. This ego will start thinning away, dissolving away. The is the error that we have pasted on ourselves due to our association with the object, due to our association with the idam. All we have to do is be aware of it, be aware of our own nature, that's all. That I am the constant one, I am not the changing one. When the same Paramatma Tattva, the same Sadvastu expresses as the knower, known and knowledge, these three together is called knowingness, and it is from this point that individuality is born. Wherever there is Triputi, there is individuality. Wherever there is Triputi, there is individuality. And that is also not a problem, because with every knower, known and knowing, with every known, a knower is born. So when I am seeing Usha, a seer is born. Then I see Ravi, then again a seer is born. Then I see Suruj, then again a seer. So I see Usha, one thought is complete. Then I see Ravi, one thought is complete. Then I see Suruj, one thought is complete. I see Nagaraj, one thought is complete. And this is how it is happening. It's not a problem if you stay with one. But what do? We create a garland of these eyes. We create the garland. We think we are the continuous one. Just like in a Sutre Maniganaiva it's told. Just as so many flowers are there on a garland, but all flowers are separate to each other. But what is keeping it together? The continuous thread. So we are essentially the continuous one, the supreme consciousness, the pure consciousness. But now we convince ourselves that we are the continuous ego on account of these different thoughts. Because we have given attention to the thoughts. We are the continuous one, no doubt about that. But which one? Are you the continuous one as pure consciousness? Are you the continuous one as the soul? Are you the continuous one as the Jivatma? Are you the continuous one as the ego? One and the same. Are you the continuous one as the mother? Are you the continuous one as the body? Are you the continuous one as the doctor? Which continuous one are you? So true identity we have to come to. So what are we doing? Because of our over importance given to the objects of the world, that continuity which is our nature, continuous, constant, never becoming more, never becoming less, that is our nature, pure consciousness. But because we are giving attention to the objects, that continuity then gets superimposed on this I thought. And the I thought starts thinking I am the continuous one, but it is not. I thought is appearing with every object. When I say I see Usha, I see Ravi, It's the two eyes, first eye and the second eye. But I don't feel that way. I'm using the words, but then I feel that I am the same one. Yes, I am the same one. But which one? The seer, the relative seer, or the infinite one? Relative can never be the same because its nature is changing. And infinite can never be the relative because it's one without a second. see the how we are caught up in our own mesh of mind. Bhagwan Shri Krishna says in the 13th chapter, 2nd verse, I am the Kshetrajna in all the Kshetras. I am the Kshetrajna in all the Kshetras. So, Kshetra, the field, Kshetrajna, the knower. Kshetra, the flowers, and Kshetrajna, the thread which is passing through all the flowers to make a garland. So he says, I am the Kshetrajna, I am the knower. I'm not the knower, sorry. I'm the one because of whom the Kshetra is full stop. Without the Kshetrajna, Kshetra cannot express. Without the conscious principle, the body cannot express. In each kshetra, there are two kshetrajnas, the one who is limited by the body and the other not limited. See, Swamiji is bringing to the same point. I've already told you, but now it's coming to the same point. That in every kshetra, in every field, there are two kshetrajnas. One is the relative and one is the absolute. This is for our benefit. This is not being told to the absolute. This is being told to the individual who feels he is the continuous, but which continuous? Which individual? On one hand, you are appearing, going through the experience. You know you are the waker, dreamer, sleeper. And on the other hand, you know you are the knower of the waker, dreamer, sleeper. So which one are you? Which one are you? And if you are the knower of the waker, dreamer, sleeper, then how come in the waking you are not behaving so? How come you are not being that? Only some spurts here and there when your attention is brought to that continuous one, then it clicks for one moment and then again back into being the waker, being the seeker, being the individual. So in each kshetra, the field, there are two kshetrajnas. The conscious principle, one who is limited by the body and the other not limited. So waker, when we say on one hand we are the relative one and the other hand we are the infinite one. On one hand we are the pure consciousness and on the other hand we are the one who is identified with the body, the individual. The higher I and the lower I. The infinite I and the lower I. So what is infinite I? Which is unconditioned, unlimited by time, space and objectivity. What is the lower I? Conditioned by time, space and objectivity. So when you say, I am knowing the waking, dream and deep sleep that they came and went yesterday, you have taken the position of the infinite I, the higher I. That's the higher I answering yes, nodding yes. It's not the individual who's saying yes. Then which one is the individual? The lower I, which takes this body to be real, is the lower I, the waker. Then that consciousness which takes the dream body to be real in the dream, then that is the lower I. See? Which one? So these two are continuously playing. They are called Vyavaharik Aham and Paramarthik Aham. Aham or Satta or reality, Vyavaharik consciousness and Paramarthik consciousness. The relative consciousness and the absolute consciousness. Both are expressing at this moment, and we don't know how to discriminate, and therefore we are lost. We superimpose the continuity of the Paramarthik into the relative, and that is what creates the ego. That is what creates the Karta and Bhokta. It creates the past, future. Catch this again and again till it clicks. Listen to it again and again. What are you at this moment? Are you a woman or are you a wife? Are both not expressing at the same time? In the middle of the lecture, if husband tells you, can you get me a coffee please, I am really desiring coffee. But you want to listen to the lecture, all drama will begin. But if you are a woman at this moment, still an individual, but a woman, wife other times. In satsang, I am not a wife. Make your own coffee. Without any feeling of guilt. There is no question. Because you are very clear what your role is at this moment. But while listening, while satsang, and then husband says, make me a coffee, and then, oh, is it not my duty? Is it not my, did I get married to say no to my husband? Is it, and all guilt will come, and then one is confused, and then resentment within. Doesn't he understand that I am listening to a satsang and he wants to listen and he doesn't want me to listen, purposely doing it. And you see how the mind goes. It happens to all of us in some circumstances or the other, isn't it? Because we are not able to distinguish. Both are expressing at the same time. Wife is also expressing, woman is also expressing. Wife is relative. In this example, wife is relative, woman is constant. Wife will go away, then mother will come, mother will go away, then daughter will come, daughter will go away, then friend will come. But woman remains the same. Exactly the same way. Seer will come, go away, hearer will come, go away, thinker will come, go away, experience will come, go away, knower will come, go away, waker will come, go away, dreamer will come, go away. But there is a constant. Without that constant, all these knower, experiencer, feeler, thinker, they cannot come and go. Without the woman, the wife, the daughter, the various, all these cannot come and go if there is no woman. The whole name of the game is to come to correct identity. Bhagavad Gita began with the identity crisis. He is in the middle of the battlefield, but he doesn't know what to do on a battlefield. He is lost in relations and sin and merit and heaven and hell and the impending disaster that is going to take place. Our sense of guilt also comes because of that. Is it not my duty? wrong position, wrong conclusions. Come back to the constant. From that point, nothing matters. From that point, when we are the constant one, we are being the constant one, then nothing will come out of you, nothing will express that will disturb the nature. Whatever action comes out of you by way of thought, word, or deed, it is always in harmony with nature, always trying to bring everything together. It cannot be for clash. And yet, when I say this, I understand you, but Mahabharata war took place, no? For whom? For Krishna or for Arjun? For whom the war took place? Have you thought? For whom it took place? Arjuna was the warrior. Krishna was not the warrior. Krishna had already said, I am not going to pick up any weapons. Because for me, you and Kauravas are same. For me, good and bad is same. He is equanimous, uninvolved, yet supporting the righteous side. Supporting in the sense, that's how the nature goes. A wise man can never tell lies. So does it mean that he is favoring the truth? No, it is natural for him to be truthful. It's natural for that person to be righteous. Not without any efforts. Natural. The latter is the other not limited. The one who is not limited, which is the pure consciousness. It is the same in all kshetras, all bodies, just like it is the same thread passing through in and all the flowers. It is the same pure consciousness which is passing through all the objectivity. I have explained that enough now. How you are the continuous one and you are imposing that continuity of your being onto the objects and then creating confusion, a havoc in your life. What differs is the knowingness. This knowing aspect is to be transcended to arrive at the point of jnana matra, pure knowledge. So what does this mean to live at the pure consciousness level? Living at the pure consciousness level, because we just said in every kshetra, in every field, there are two personalities. Personality means kshetrajna. One is the infinite one, which is unlimited by the kshetra. Just like if you take a wave, there are two types of water. One water which is feeling that it is the wave, and the other aspect of the water is that it is infinite. That is why the feeling is coming, I want to be the infinite, otherwise it will not come to you, come to a person. See? Then how do you live? How does a person live through this body, through the kshetra, as the pure consciousness? He allows the experiences to come, he allows the seeing to happen, he allows the hearing to happen, he allows the knowing to happen, but he doesn't become the knower, he doesn't become the experiencer, doesn't become the seer, he doesn't become the listener. This erring personality is not allowed to precipitate. It will only precipitate when you give value to the object, the idam. The phenomena of pure consciousness expressing kshetrajna to express to kshetra, you cannot stop it. That is the phenomena. But do you get entangled in the phenomena and take it to be real, or you be the reality? So catch. Don't bring the scriptures when you are living at the worldly level. In Vyavahar, what is to be done is to be done. If someone has to be punished, has to be punished. Someone has to be reprimanded, has to be reprimanded. Someone needs the empathy, you have to give the empathy. There you should not say, oh, self is everything, and no, that is Vyavahar. Let it happen. Let it happen. Without the precipitation of the empathizer or compassionate, show compassion without becoming the compassionate one. Show empathy without becoming the empathizer. Serve the world without becoming the server. Don't allow this to happen, to take place. Anything other than this is only ignorance masquerading as knowledge. आणि ज्ञान ऐसी सोये ज्ञानपणेची जरी साहे तरी अज्ञान हेही नोहे ज्ञानपणेची. This being so, if one insists that the knowledge can be known as other than the knower, this being so, if one insists that the knowledge can be known as other than the knower, then it is nothing but ignorance expressing as knowledge. Now, having said that there is a kshetra and there is a kshetrajna, there are two kshetrajnas, one is vyavaharik and one is paramarthik, and now you want to be the paramarthik, and you say that I am not disturbed by the idam. If this conclusion has come, you are still in ignorance. Because from the paramarthik, from the pure consciousness point of view, there is no idam. It alone is. So from the point of view, that water which is thinking itself to be the wave, and that water which is thinking it is the infinite. So Vyavaharik will be, I am the wave and there are so many other waves. And the Paramarthik will be, I am the infinite. When that wave, the one who is thinking wave, comes to abide as the infinite waters, from infinite waters point of view, there is no object called wave or waves or ocean. Nothing is there from the water's point of view. It alone is. There is no objectivity possible. So this way of explanation was only so that we come to the subjective principle, the constant principle. It is not to prove that the world is. It is not to prove that the world is. It is not to validate the objectivity. It is not to validate the relativity or the changing. This whole process within the relative is to come back to that constant principle, which is ever. Whether we think or we don't think, it is ever. So you feel, oh, I think I'm there, and you look, oh, I'm not disturbed by anything that is going on in the world. We are still in the mind. If this is the meaning of pure knowledge, that there is no possibility of objectification, existence is therefore pure knowledge or pure consciousness, where there is no differentiation of knower known knowledge. So, what is this pure consciousness? Pure consciousness is pervading through the knower, through the known, and through the knowledge. The material that has gone into the subject, object, and the instrument of knowledge, is that pure consciousness alone? And when we come to be the pure consciousness, then we may be saying, I am hungry. Mahatmas also say, realized masters say that. Now I'm going for a walk. But on account of that thought, there is no precipitation of any knowingness. There is no personality crystallization there. This we cannot understand. We can repeat it 100 times, still it will not be understood, because it is something beyond our mind. How this happens is beyond our mind. The only way I can tell you is all the dialogues and relationships and projects that you did in the dream become null and void the moment you wake up. All the relationships, all the dialogues, all the personality that you had in the dream, which was appearing real till you were in the dream. But the moment you wake up, you give zero value to it. Same way. When we become available to ourselves in its truest sense, the pure consciousness, that very moment, all objectivity will become null and void. In the kingdom of pure knowledge, there is nothing like ignorance, because ignorance and knowledge are illumined alike by the same consciousness. There is nothing like ignorance, because ignorance and knowledge are illumined. From the sun's point of view, there is nothing called darkness, yet it supports day and night. But from its point of view, there is nothing called night, therefore there is nothing called day also. But you say, oh, it is of the nature of light. You say that, sun doesn't say that. Fire doesn't say, I am hot, I am bright. It's its nature, it is inseparable. It doesn't know the heat as an object of knowledge. It doesn't see the light as an object of knowledge. So Purnamada Purnamidam, when pure consciousness is all that there is, then can it see the kshetra as an object of knowledge? No. It is the material which has gone into everything. It is everything. In fact, from its point of view, there is nothing called everything. It alone is. Because ignorance and knowledge are illumined alike by the same consciousness, and therefore, from the point of view of pure knowledge and relative ignorance fall in the same category. What is that category in which the relative knowledge and the relative ignorance fall? It is called ignorance. And what is that ignorance? Which does not exist. For who? For pure consciousness. What is that pure? You are that. Then where is this ignorance and knowledge? Only at a phenomenal level, imaginary level. Where is this imaginary level? In the mind. Where is the mind? It also exists in its own absence. See, ये मजा मजा है सारा. Can't hold on. They do not exist in pure consciousness, which is effortlessly comfortable everywhere, be it in a tiny thing, a speck of dust, or a great being, a great sage. Anoraniyan mahato mahiyan. Smaller than the smallest, greater than the greatest. But if it is everything, how can there be small and big? How can there be a minuscule and a great sage? It is only for who? This lecture is not being given to pure consciousness. It is being given to that pure consciousness that you essentially are, but are imagining yourself to be an individual, a seeker. See? How pure knowledge cannot be known is stated in a very subtle way. जैसे तेज जे आहे ते अंधारे किरणो है माँ तेज तरही होए तेजासी काई. In light, darkness cannot be. Hence, can there be brightness in light? This is a double cancellation. In light there cannot be darkness. Then if there is no darkness, why do we call light and darkness? Because sometimes darkness comes and it goes away, then it comes, then it goes away. Night comes and goes away. When night goes away, we call it day. When night then again night comes, then again it goes away next day, then again second day, third day, fourth day. Day means where there is light. Suppose the darkness goes away and there is no precipitation of darkness again, then will you be able to call light as light? Because there is no opposition, there is no comparison, there is no reference. There is no reference. With reference to object, that infinite one is called as subject. With reference to object. With reference to husband, the woman is called a wife. But when there is no other, then she becomes like Ammaji, Jagat Mata. Then the husband of Anandmayi Ma takes Sharanagati at his wife's feet and gets initiated by his wife. She becomes the guru of her husband. Kapil Muni becomes the guru of her own mother, his own mother. What are we living for? Are we living for the higher or are we living for Vyavhar? For the purpose of Vyavhar. No, but this is also, we have to do our duties in the world, isn't it? People are coming doing this. Then be at the Vyavharik level. If coming to such a satsang and still the thoughts are there, aren't we having Don't we have to follow our responsibilities, duties, and this and that? Then get out and do that. Don't get confused by coming here. Only those who have sorted that out in their life can understand what is going on here. Those who are intrinsically pulled towards their own source, they can digest this. See? So, in light, darkness cannot be, hence, can there be brightness in light? Can you imagine that light which is not opposed to darkness? That type of light is this pure knowledge which is not opposed to ignorance. Light and darkness is a phenomena, day and night is a phenomena which is supported by the sun. Without the sun, the day cannot be and night also cannot be. Without the sun, without the sky, the appearance of the clouds cannot be and the absence of clouds also cannot be. But from space point of view, appearance and disappearance of clouds is, it supports both, but it's not affected by both. So same way, the appearance of knowledge and absence of knowledge, which is called ignorance, both are at the phenomenal level. And where is the phenomena happening? I am repeating again, it is happening in the relative. Where is the relative? In the mind, where there is subject and object. It does not create a dent on the pure consciousness. From pure consciousness point of view, there is neither knowledge nor ignorance. Neither knowledge nor ignorance. It supports both and yet is transcendental to both. Nascent, we have said this point before, nascent sunlight is dark light. We see the light of the sun only when it reflects on an object. If there is no object for it to reflect against, then it has got no color. You go into space, sunlight has got no color. You cannot see rays of sun coming through. Then why do we see it on the earth? Because it is passing through the atmosphere. 11, 12, 13, 14, I don't know how many kilometers of atmosphere. The ionosphere, stratosphere, the air, the dust, all that is there. And as it is passing through, it gets refracted. And that refracted light is what we see as the rays of sun. But where there is no particle of any sort, nor dust particle nor air particle. In space is just emptiness. There is nothing to reflect. Then will it get refracted? No. Then what will be its color there? It's no color. Nascent sunlight is dark light. It is only reflected light that is bright and that is opposed to darkness. So it is only the reflected light is opposed to darkness, not the original light. Pure sunlight cannot be seen. In the same way, pure consciousness cannot become the object of knowledge. So what are you seeing as light? The reflected light through the atmosphere. When you go in the space, can you see the light? Nope. So what are you seeing yourself as? The reflected consciousness. How do you see it as? Subject and object. That one has become two, no? Yeah, all this is the self alone, but you are not ready to accept it because you are so divorced from your own essential nature. In the same way, pure consciousness cannot become the object of knowledge. It cannot become the object. Reflected consciousness with its limitations of body, mind, etc. can never know the pure consciousness. Therefore, it is called knowledge without a knower, knowledge without a known. So what is pure consciousness? Knowledge without a knower and knowledge without a known. In other words, where triputi is absent, where the triad of knower, known, knowing, experiencer, experience, experiencing, thinker, thought and thinking, where this is absent, that is pure knowledge.
Swamiji, sunlight is dark light. But when we see the sun, we can see the sun as a ball of fire or something like that. Is that the illusion, Swamiji, or how we see that? From that way we are seeing as no light, but this way we see as the ball of fire.
So you are seeing it through the atmosphere, na?
That's a reflection again, Swamiji.
Of course. Of course. So in space also you will see the sun, no doubt, but you will not see sunlight. The rays of sunlight you will not see. It's an example to tell you how that knowledge and ignorance are opposite to each other, day and night are opposite to each other, sunrise and sunset are opposite to each other, inside and outside are opposite to each other, the east and west are opposite to each other, but the space is not affected by it. So we are not, what we are saying is, as long as we consider the phenomena to be real, then there is knowledge and ignorance. When we consider the relative to be the reality, then knowledge and ignorance, then we want to run away from the ignorance and we want to come to the knowledge. But when we take the position of pure consciousness, which is all inclusiveness, which is transcendental to all relativity and phenomena, then both cancel each other. Which one? The relative one. Which is the relative? The relative knowledge, which is thought knowledge, and relative ignorance. But appearance of thoughts or absence of thoughts does not corrupt the pure consciousness. Pure consciousness continues to be, because there is the day or night come or don't come, sun will not be affected. Sun will continue to be sun. Whether there are directions or no directions given by men, the space will continue to be space. Whether there are waves and oceans expressing or not expressing, that is the phenomena, cause and effect, water will continue to be. Which one are we? Which one are you? The one who is coming and going or the one who is constant? Try to get what is being indicated through the example. Na? Again, when you say that, but can't we see the light of the sun? You are seeing sun as an object of knowledge, isn't it? So you are understanding sun is the object of knowledge and the phenomena of day and night is happening on the earth. Can you see the self as an object of knowledge? Can you see the self as an object of knowledge? Can the wave see the water? How can it see the water? It is the water. How can you see the pure consciousness? You are the consciousness. In that example, the sun was the constant one and day and night was the relative one. Now suddenly you have brought yourself in, but when we are looking at the sun, array, it's not, that was the example. From sun's point of view, there is no day and night. That example was not to prove whether you can see the sun or not. See? So now apply that principle. What will be the position of the sun towards the day and night? There is no position. Sun is just sun. Sun doesn't know what is day and sun doesn't know what is night. Just like after waking up, you don't know what was your body in the dream, who was your wife in the dream, who were your children in the dream, what job you were doing in the dream, how old you were in the dream. You don't know anything after waking up. Do you? You are transcended the dream. Now allow it to happen for the waking also. Allow it to happen. Why you are continuing to hold on to the relative in the waking state? Getting it? इसका है मजा. Right angle of approach is also required. As an individual, we need to approach it correctly. Don't stretch the example. Always live at the principle level. Understand the principle. I'm just taking your example right now, but what you were thinking was your experience of looking at the sun. We are talking about the principle. You are talking about your experience. See? Because habit of having an experience. So same thing can happens here also. I want to experience the self. It is not possible. It is not possible. Because you are the self. Can such a light be called light at all? To describe it, one has to coin a new word not available in the Vaikhari dictionary. Vaikhari, all the scriptures, there is no word for such for such. So then the word is given. What is the word given? Dark light. Self-cancelling statement. Light means that which illuminates and it is dark. अरे ये क्या है? Same thing they say, dark hole. What is dark hole? There is nothing. We say absence, If we have what is absence for us? Is absence nothingness? So if you have a piece of paper and you make a hole in it, and you are explaining to someone what is absence. See, this is a paper. What is this? Paper. Then you make a hole in it. Or this is a hand. These are fingers. And then you move. See, what is here? What is this? Finger. What is this? Thumb. What is this? Hand. What is this? Is there a hand there? Finger there? Thumb there? Anything? No, there is nothing there. That absence of finger, absence of thumb, absence of anything is called absence. So absence is not existing, it is only in contrast to something that you say that there is nothing. Absence of an object is the absence. Then what will be absence of absence? So if dark and light are existing together, something and nothing are together, what will be nothing in nothing? It will be the dark light. Some word has to be given. Dark light, which is beyond light and darkness, which supports both, but it is independent of both. Then what is presence and absence? Oh, there is nothing, I can't see anything. In meditation. So absence of thought is called void. Absence of thoughts is called nothingness. So there was presence of thought, now there is absence of thought. But we are telling you go beyond the presence and absence. So you went beyond the presence of thoughts, you came to absence of thoughts. Then that is also a phenomena. After some time again presence of thought comes. Then how do you go beyond? If you have to go beyond, just like we say presence of thoughts leads to absence of thoughts, then if we say presence of presence and absence, going beyond presence and absence means what? That means you are going beyond nothingness also. So what is absence of nothingness or absence of absence? What that will be? This is very, we are only talking at the intellectual level, but when you are on the seat of meditation, there is nothing there. I have to go beyond nothing. No. Then what is that? There is something, no? There is presence. That is the reality, which is beyond the presence as well as the absence. In other words, which is beyond the knowledge and ignorance. It's supporting the phenomena of knowledge and ignorance, yet it is transcendental to knowledge and ignorance. This we are using these words in the relative, just to be convinced of our true nature, so that we get inspired to get there. But when you get there, neither knowledge will be there nor ignorance will be there. Then what will be there? Only you, Purnamada Purnamidam. One without a second. How is that? You cannot. We can only give you few examples of the sun against the sun and light, water towards the ocean and waves, gold towards the ornaments, the rope towards the snake, space towards the different house spaces. But they are all these examples are objective in nature for you at this moment. So understand the principle out of them and try to apply that principle. Oh, so that means I am beyond knowledge and ignorance. Where is knowledge and ignorance for me? In the mind. How can I be in the mind and yet beyond the mind? There is no answer. Yet you have to contemplate on that one. That I am supporting the mind, yet I am beyond the mind. How come? If sun can do it, if water can do it, gold can do it, space can do it, why can't I do it? Can I do it? No, it has to happen. So understand the principle. Take the correct position. And the correct position is that position which does not precipitate in an experience. Experience, vritti, vyapti. It doesn't precipitate into a knowingness. Knowingness is possible wherever there is subject, object, and instrument of knowledge. Aham, idam, and the instrument. So don't allow to think. When you think of infinite, there is no precipitation of any experience. When there is wonderment, there is no precipitation of any experience. When you think of birthlessness, there is no precipitation of any experience. Keep inspiring yourself to think about such thoughts which do not conclude in anything. But don't use the thought of absence, because absence also doesn't conclude in anything. That is the, yeah, in other words, we are not fighting with the mind. We are teaching the mind to come out of ignorance and come to light. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. We are telling the mind, give up ignorance, come to light. Because this is possible. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, this is possible only at thought level. This is an instruction. But what is this tamas? The tamas is the relative. So give up the relative. Relative is ignorance, which is expressing as light and darkness, which is expressing as knowledge and absence of knowledge. So come out of that relative. Be the constant one, in spite of the phenomena. This is the instruction of the Upanishads. This is the instruction given here. This is the experience of Jnaneshwar Maharaj. तो इससे ज़्यादा क्या बोलेंगे यार? Can such a light be called light at all? To describe it, one has to coin a new word not available in the Vaikhari dictionary. All speeches become totally helpless and incompetent to describe this pure knowledge, which is not opposed to either knowledge or ignorance. It cannot even be called knowledge. So it is the undifferentiated knowledge. Undifferentiated knowledge which is not opposed to knowledge and which is not opposed to ignorance. Stay with this thought for some moments, that you are that which is not opposed to presence and absence of thought right now. Sit for 2-3 minutes. We have got that left. हरि ओम।